paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe, and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, it's all right, refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And yes,
I don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the
See
podcast.
that? We didn't interrupt. We let you start.
I appreciate that, Jason. Also joining us, of course, is DJ. I'm Corbin, and we appreciate you being here as well, however you got here. So welcome in, everybody. We want to lead with the big... it's been a busy week, not just on, Magic Twitter, where some of us are forced to live, but sort of in the larger world of Magic and card games overall. Lots of drama, spicy things to kick off 2022. It's not necessarily all in a good way.
We're like 8% of the way done through the year. We are not kicking off 2022 in any shape or form.
Do you think we're through 8% of the drama for the year?
No, man, this
or
was the
more.
worst weekend. This was a 2021's worth of Twitter drama all in one weekend. It was crazy.
It was bad. It was.
It was a crazy weekend.
To recap, the big one is that Seb McKinnon.
Why do the big one first? Do the big one last.
Man,
is it the only one you want to talk about?
It's the elephant in the room, right?
Let's talk about the big
anyway.
one.
So Seb McKinnon expressed some
questionable opinions.
Questionable opinions at some questionable rallies with some disgusting people. So that was a thing. As he then doubled down on Reddit, on Twitter. Last I saw, he was planning on doing some kind of show with Kyle Hill. It's been a thing. It's been pretty drama filled. The best thing to come out of it, of course, though, is that he longs for a world without QR codes, because QR codes are how Canada uses to show that you have a vaccine. We have vaccine cards here in the United States. I'm sure it's different in other countries. In Canada, a QR code is what you use for that. So he longs for a world without QR codes. So
can you imagine if Americans said that, like his shorthands, like, we're mad at passports. We're mad at passports. That's so funny because Americans don't have passports because we don't travel.
So anyways, that happened. There was also drama in the art world. Christopher Rush's daughter, Christopher Rush, of course, being the famed magic artist who passed away.
You just said Christopher Rush's daughter, Christopher Rush, and I just thought that was so funny. Like, he's like, what was his name? George Foreman named his daughter George Foreman.
You also could have said her name. You're like the sports reporter who's like, "Oh,
I was getting there."
No, you got to open with it. You got to.
He said her name. It's Christopher Rush.
Anyways, Christopher Rush's daughter, Sierra Rush, was booted from an MTG group over allegedly passing off signatures that would not have been classified as authentic. I think I worded that correctly. So
we're the Inquirer now. Is that our job? We recap the daily drama.
We wanted to. Can we talk about how somebody we all used to know told Sam Black that he could always write an article for free and nobody would try to stop him?
That happened last week too.
That was Thursday, yeah.
Oh my DJ, it's just been a busy week. You got to let us decompress here. Been holding in so many jokes,
so much drama. I had so much stuff that I could have tweeted about Norbs and didn't.
Channel Fireball did a box break of a Flesh and Blood set they were not allowed
to do.
They messed up that preview plan quite a bit. That was pretty good. In the Twitch chat, people were like, "Yo, you can't do this," and they were like, "Yeah, we can.
I have emails."
And then a few minutes later, they were like,
emails. "You know who else had emails? Donald Trump, and he became president." I guess what I'm saying is,
a few minutes later, they were like, "Oh, just kidding. We can't do this." So then the Flesh and Blood world is passing around the screenshots of the box opening, the box break that Channel Fireball was doing before they took the video down, of course. So it was truly some Wild West, grainy photos. It's just been a busy week online.
Former Brainstorm Brewery sponsor, Channel Fireball. getting people information in a world where you're not allowed to question people that go against the groupthink. Channel Fireball is bravely out here making a stance that information should be free and belong to everybody. Even Squatty Potty doesn't want to be associated with Seb McKinnon right now.
Yeah, it's look, it's I think speedrunning a Magic career was the way Jason put it, right? Or someone put it on Twitter. I thought that was pretty much the most accurate way to describe the path of Seb McKinnon.
He's like Magic's J.K. Rowling. He could have just not.
Well, he's not though. Like he's not. He's third in line, which is the most insane thing.
Yeah, like he had
being
some
the first
lessons.
is like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
you made
it's like,
an oopsie,
oh, we're
but,
canceling people now.
Yeah, like it's just from his part.
Because he has
just...
$3 million of our dollars. He did a $3 million Kickstarter. He doesn't care anymore.
Jeez, that's insane.
Our money is in his pocket, and he used it to buy gas to drive to Ottawa. So he won already. It's like, oh, you don't get any more of our money. Good. I don't like drawing for nerds, man.
So Busy Week. The question is Wizards going to do anything about it? Is this relevant in a financial way? It could be, because note that when Wizards has ceased working with artists in the past, they have placed a premium on reprinting those cards that those artists did that were iconic or popular with new art. And that's a real thing. So look, if Wizards chooses to cut ties with Seb McKinnon over this, that's a lot of cards that are going to be looking at reprints. And it really just, I think more than anything, disappointed a bunch of people. Honestly, myself included. I love Seb McKinnon's art and I loved his extra stuff. And it's just disappointing that, look, I'm someone who's struggling with post-COVID effects and short of breath, and it's a struggle. It's real. And then, so
was it a QR code that got you? Happens. Show us on the doll where the QR code got your health.
Anyways, it is what it is. And look, it wouldn't be Magic if we didn't love some drama, including...
I think my favorite part of that entire thing was I saw somebody unironically suggest a Masters set that was specifically focused on reprinting these cards from from these artists with new art. And that was...
What did they name it, DJ?
They called it Woke Masters. Which, if you want a draft set where you can windmill slam your Invoke Prejudice and Heuristic Study deck, that's where you'll find it.
Oh, man. Anyways, in the midst of all of this, by the way, there's Kamigawa, and it's kind of cool, I'm not going to lie. By the way, the Phyrexians, they're back. They ate Tameo. By the way, that's more drama. We forgot about the Tameo drama.
That wasn't drama. Nothing about that was
There's a lot of hashtag WotC staff responses to that one. It was a thing. It's that had its own moment over the week. Anyways, Tameo has been Phyrexianed. So she's been
I'm glad you didn't use the cancelable term completed, Corbin.
I did not. Yeah, the design of this card is very cool. Phyrexia mana is, of course, very, very dangerous, but hopefully they know this. But look, here's the thing that got me. My first thought when I saw this...
Delve is a very, very dangerous mechanic, but hopefully they know this. Free spells are a dangerous mechanic, but hopefully they know this.
Yeah, I have said
that. Channel was a card that had to be banned, and they putting Channel on every card? What are they doing? That's halfway to Channel Fireball.
Literally, DJ, that is the thing I said about Felidar Guardian and Standard, the cat combo. I was like, surely they know this, and then I'm just wrong. So you're right, actually. But anyways, we'll see what happens. Because
remember that episode?
For once in his life, DJ is right. Actually,
there's no way they're that stupid that they don't know that those.
We'll see. So
I bet we've had some really questionable takes over the years. Just be like,
certainly not me.
Anytime we're like, hey, they're not complete morons.
Well, let me give this one to you. Here's a card. It's called Go Shintai of Ancient Wars. It's a legendary enchantment creature, Shrine. Now, what if I were to tell you that it is not a creature shrine, despite the words being next to each other? It turns out the shrine is the enchantment type, not the creature type. It has no creature type, which is also a thing in this set because, for instance, the Wandering Emperor just says legendary planeswalker. It doesn't have a planeswalker type. So
that one didn't have a planeswalker type back in War of the Spark too, which I just missed. I just didn't even notice that.
I honestly didn't either, or I certainly hadn't thought about it recently. So yeah, I don't know exactly how that, how that ties into Kamigawa or whatever, but in story wise, I hadn't really followed that. But mechanically, there's some cool stuff going on. There's also the return of Living Weapon with Reconfigure, which are basically equipment creatures, if that makes sense. If you attach them to something, they're a creature. If you unattach it,
the best way to describe them is as Union monsters from Yu-Gi-Oh. Union monsters from Yu-Gi-Oh is actually like the best correlation there.
Yeah, if you attach it to a creature, it's an equipment. If you unattach it, it's a creature. So there's some cool stuff here, I guess. And the other thing rounding out the set is the sagas that transform when they hit their final chapter, which is also kind of neat. So yeah, like Kamigawa seems to be a home run just based on the feedback I've seen on it so far. And some of these cards, especially Jason alluded to the channel cards that the ability they put on some of the lands, definitely going to be players in Eternal formats.
That Boseiju card seems like unnecessarily powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For other formats.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Boseiju, Who Endures, is a legendary green land. Enters untapped, adds green, and then you can discard it for 2, and it's a naturalize. It's a naturalize that can also hit a non-basic land, and it costs 1 less for each legendary creature you control. So if you have 1 legendary creature for 1 mana, you can pitch your Boseiju and destroy an artifact, enchantment, or non-basic land an opponent controls. They get to go search for a basic. So you get a path, essentially. Path to exile, one of those 3 things. On a land that comes into play untapped.
When I first read this mechanic, I thought it would be that like you had to have. I thought it was kind of like Grandeur from Future Sight, where it's like, okay, if you have 1 in play, then you can discard the dupes. I was like, oh, that's like more balanced, but it's not.
It is
it's not.
Yeah, they're. It's pretty good. I mean, Life from the Loam.
It's pretty good with Ramonap Excavator when you just.
Good with whole Life from the Loam too.
Yeah. Woo. As if Life from the Loam wasn't a good pickup already. I mean, it's not a good pickup because it went up a lot. Like, when Get Rog Monster came out, if you didn't just grab Life from the Loam at $2, like, you're screwing up. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, do you think it has, any more room to run from this in particular? Life from the Loam right now
No.
Here's the thing. Life from the Loam right now is about $15. It's got multiple printings, although the last one was Ultimate Masters. It's been a minute. I mean, I'm with you in that it's probably a $20 card.
Slowgurk just came out. It's not going to... Boseiju's not going to do more than Slowgurk did.
Okay. Unless it actually does lead to a resurgence of Life from the Loam decks across Paper Magic, right? Legacy,
yeah, sure. It would have to impact
all those people
formats.
dropping tabernacles to build legacy lands.
It's or modern, right? Wrenn and 6, by the way. Like, it's a real thing. Wrenn and 6 is already a super expensive card, and that's why I also wouldn't necessarily love buying up Life from the Loam at 15. But it's got applications in modern for sure. It's powerful. The set's powerful, and then of course they have the modified mechanic, where if your creature is equipped, enchanted, or has a counter on it, it counts as modified, and then does stuff
for limited and like a couple constructed cards probably. Like it's like historic. Yeah. Historic was neat. It was just like a way to just fill the lore of the set and be like, okay, all of these things count as the thing we're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, and historic as a mechanic kind of what came up and constructed a little bit. I guess particularly the Excavator and the Kethis combo deck made it constructed relevant, which may have been sort of accidental, but Yeah, probably same with this. And also this set, by the way, giving us some sweet names, like the reality chip.
You think the reality chip is sweet?
Or you think it's like barbecue?
When I saw this picture, I tweeted, "Custom magic is leaking."
Yeah.
This is Chromanticore tier right here.
We're at this for those who are curious. This thing has got just this is just one of those Robo Rosewater cards, right?
Legendary artifact creature dash equipment jellyfish. Yeah, man, this is some Robo Rosewater shit right here.
Yep. You may look. It's 2 mana, blue 0/4. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. If it's attached to a creature, you may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library, and for 3 mana, you can reconfigure it. Now, I'm not going to lie, I do kind of want to play this in my Keranos deck. Just saying. Looks pretty fun, but it is an absolutely ridiculous name, and I love it. This set's going to be awesome, you guys. This set's going to be fun.
Fun for who?
Can't lie.
What are you? So are you not a fan, DJ? Look, we got Phyrexians are back.
We got
That's
Kadama
cool.
the West Tree.
Yeah.
Finally.
And it's, interesting.
We found out the Wanderer isn't anybody that we knew.
Wanderer.
Just a new character that they decided to tease 2 years ago. We did it.
I think that's cool, though. That's future
Is
style.
it?
Yes, it is, because it's like a no downside thing. If you think it's cool, it's cool. And if you don't think it's cool, it doesn't matter.
If you
Like,
don't
it
think
just
it's cool, someone
impacts-
will just call you a nerd for caring.
It just
and then-
impacts your life not at all. Like,
Got ya. Everybody wanted it to be Elspeth so bad because they're not used. They're used to Marvel where people don't die, and not Phase 4 of Marvel where everybody dies. I guess.
well, Elspeth did come back. Just not, I mean,
As
it was
a
like
wanderer,
2 sets later or something. The entire plot was Elspeth coming back. I don't actually know what the plot is of Kamigawa, for what it's worth. I just know that we've gone back to Kamigawa, and now there's Phyrexians, so I assume that's the next 5 years of Magic design. Which, hey,
Corbin,
I'm
there were
here for.
Phyrexians on call time. Like, that's not a new.
What was on call time?
Vorinclex?
Vorinclex? Yeah, I guess Vorinclex was the first teaser, right?
Mhm.
I like I said, I don't know the lore here. I don't know if they're invade the Phyrexians are on all out war in Kamigawa. Like, who's got the story for me here?
Was Bolus keeping the Phyrexians from taking over, and then no?
No, Tezzeret was always helping the Phyrexians.
Tezzeret is the betrayer of flesh in this set. 4 mana, 4 loyalty. So they did some cool stuff with the Planeswalkers in this set, right?
Because
So
back in Mirrodin Besieged,
Yeah, go ahead.
Bolas sent Tezzeret to keep watch on Phyrexia, but Tezzeret helped Phyrexia a lot on Mirrodin Besieged.
Why do you know this?
Because
then Tezzeret was involved in Kaladesh.
Can you imagine a Vorthos cast talking about MPG finance and how pissed off everybody listening would be? Why are we doing this?
I cannot
was
imagine
curious.
any of our listeners stick around for the Magic Finance content, Jason. If they do, then I apologize. But I'm not apologizing because I know that nobody listens to this cast exclusively for the Magic Finance content. We haven't done Breaking Bulk yet. It's 15 ? 15 minutes into the episode.
Question mark was right. Look, I just want to make a note before we do that. I think they did a really cool design with the Planeswalkers in this set. Like, the Wandering Emperor has Flash, and the first time it comes into play, you can activate its abilities immediately. Tezzeret makes the first activated ability of an artifact you activate each turn, costs 2 less. It does some weird vehicle stuff. That's cool. And then Tamiyo has a variable starting loyalty based on whether you played Phyrexian mana or not. These are actual, and I don't know about the power level of any of these per se, but these are actual cool Planeswalker designs, not just bunch of big numbers and powerful effects make $25 Planeswalker card,
We haven't
Oh,
been
that's
in
cool.
make plenty $25 Planeswalker territory for a very long time.
A couple years, I guess.
Like, Oko and Teferi were the 2 oopsies that I can think of off the top of my head, but
I think it's very rare that Planeswalkers haven't been the best thing to do in Standard in the past 2 years. Remember Nissa?
Did that card ever sell for $25? Did I miss something?
Well, I mean, sure. I mean,
I'm not talking about power level. I'm talking about like the whole like, this is a planeswalker. It's pre-selling for $30. Like that hasn't been a thing for.
Oh
a
no,
long
no,
time.
yeah, no, I don't mean that. I was talking about like just the price there is a side effect of the fact that the design.
Also, Nissa was only the best card in Standard because like 18 other cards got banned, right?
No, Nissa was broken every moment of its life in Standard. Card was just always ridiculous. But I mean, it's very rare that Planeswalkers haven't been the best thing to do in Standard for a hot minute. Go back to say Gideon, sort of stuff like that. My point is, I thought that these Planeswalkers actually had some interesting design choices rather than just being generically powerful, regardless of what that their rarity and their price equates to after that.
I think we'd said the same thing about Gideon. We were like, oh, Gideon's an interesting design because you can nuke him for an emblem immediately.
No, it's just I'm not responsible for what I said back then.
Okay.
I've had
interesting
kids
design does not necessarily mean
I've had kids since
fun and exciting 2 weeks later, Corbin.
Well, I think they did learn a lesson from that. We're talking about Gideon Allies Zendikar for those who are curious. It had some kind of irrelevant first ability. I think turned it into a creature, but it could minus its starting loyalty immediately to make a +1/+1 emblem for your team. But the real problem is that it could, for 0 cost, shit out tokens, and that was just how people played it. So, and that was the same problem with Nissa, by the way. In case Wizards wants to take any lessons from that. But anyways, there we go. Kamigawa, all around is going to be fun. Let's move on to Breaking Bulk.
The one thing I have to say about Kamigawa is, like, we talk a lot on this podcast about the best place to put your money for your enjoyment and entertainment. The best place you could put your money right now probably is, like, buying one of each of the original Kamigawa novels on eBay for, like, $20 total. Last I checked. Might be more now because
pick of the week.
But like, they're just good books. They're just very like Champions, Betrayers, and Savers. All three are just extremely good Magic novels. We talked a little bit about Vorthos on this cast, but like those books are just extremely well done, and you would be doing yourself a favor by reading them. I highly doubt they exist in audiobook. I will work on an Audible sponsorship soon-ish, I guess. But like,
thanks, DJ.
Those three books, S tier, very, very worth your money and entertainment value time.
All right, it's time for Breaking Bulk. Who wants to go first?
Breaking Bulk time. Breaking Bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, Breaking Bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking Bulk. The end.
DJ wants to go first.
I have a rare
Go ahead, DJ.
I have a rare that's gold colored from Return to Ravnica that was reprinted later with a downshift.
Well, Loxodon Smiter? Did that get
No.
downshifted? I don't remember.
Return to Ravnica.
This card has 5 total reprints. All of them are roughly $1. One of them's a bit more. It was originally RTR, and then it has several other printings.
You can tell us what colors it was?
It's kind of a giveaway because it's Return to Ravnica, right?
Fair enough. Thanks, Rev.
I will say its
Detention
most recent
Sphere.
printing is... Mystery Booster doesn't really count. Its most recent printing was Commander Anthology Volume 2 from Commander 2016 and Iconic Masters. What the hell? I'll give you all the printings. Iconic Masters, Mystery Booster, C16, Anthology 2. And it was a pre-release promo.
The Wrath.
Nope.
D-Sphere.
Nope.
Is it Azorius at all?
No.
It's Celestia, right?
Nope.
Oh, it's clearly Rakdos. Boros for life.
Not a set that was in Return to Ravnica. Or not a guild.
Oh, man. It's Corpse Jack Menace.
It is Corpse Jack Menace. This card is $1-ish. The pre-release promo one that you can probably find in like a bulk promo bin is like $4 for whatever reason.
I didn't realize the
Says
card was $1.
You double things. Right?
It
Yeah,
does
but
let
I
you double
legit didn't
things.
realize
It's
it was $1
all your
after the
+1/+1
downshift.
counters become doubled.
You know,
And
green black, your one-stop shop for +1/+1 counters.
it certainly was in Return to Ravnica.
That's a
It's
deep cut, Jason.
Scavenger's
I'll
the
give you
mechanic.
credit.
So,
Yeah.
but Iconic Master sort of tanked this, and then it got another printing in Commander 2016.
What would
I
this
believe-
cost with only one printing?
Oh, that's like 10, 15, probably.
Could be. And then everybody like, why is this card money?
But it's still $1. Like I find it in bulk rares. I find it in bulk commons and uncommons because it was in IMA, and you can just chuck them on your TCG store for $1. I've talked about this concept a lot, where like you don't necessarily need to buy list all of your dollar cards. You can just chuck some of them on your store as one-ofs, and then you'll occasionally get multi-orders. Like you
know,
of course
your
don't want
TCG Player Direct store you all have. Like, would you sell this not direct?
I would if I had a like $5 shipping minimum or something like that. Like you can set your shipping minimums at a certain thresholds. And then you'll get like the occasional order for like somebody buying a soul ring plus this plus a cultivate or something like that. And then like a $5 order is worth your time to ship, and you get a little bit more for your buy than you would buy listing, and you'll also like net feedback and grow your brand a bit.
That's the kind of advice people want. If you're not selling direct, which is for very enfranchised people who don't need our help, some advice for dealing with stuff like this is don't necessarily always bulk out your bulk rares, especially if they are actually $1.
The other thing I'll say about selling on direct is it is way easier to sell on direct than you probably assume it is if you're a casual listener. And the other thing is don't if you're a casual listener. I would wait until you are at the threshold you think you should be at before you sell on direct. I am of the opinion that many fewer sellers should be on direct than actually are. It should be harder to get into, but that's a whole another hornet's nest that I'm not gonna make 1/1 tokens from.
You know that old chestnut? That's a whole hornet's nest.
Okay, I'm gonna continue DJ's theme here. I'm gonna give you a Scourge rare, gold rare that was downshifted.
The black Bladewing the Risen.
It is Bladewing the Risen.
It's the
I
only
knew DJ would know it was Scourge.
I think it's the only gold creature in Scourge.
I would not have known that. Didn't play in that set. Is
I'm
that
pretty
really
sure
true?
it is.
It had
It's
one gold
definitely the
card?
only gold legendary card in that set.
Oh, interesting.
I think.
What was Scourge's thing? Like, did it have a? Because
Converted
back
mana
then
cost.
they.
See, yeah,
Okay,
it was like you had the 1/1 for
Scornful
8 mana.
Egotist.
Yeah,
Scornful
That you-
Egotist.
that you could flip up, and then it's like, oh, draw cards equal to the highest CMC of creatures you control.
I
Stuff
see.
like that.
Yep. Yeah, that the back then they, for those who don't know, in those days with sets they just kind of picked a mechanical theme, and that was the thing.
Jason,
there was
I'm
not
going to-
necessarily.
Oh, Corona and Sliver Overlord.
I was just gonna say, Jason, I'm gonna break your heart, and that is not the only gold legend in Scourge, and they're the
Ooh,
two.
got him.
I mean, he checked himself before he ultimately wrecked himself.
Because I was wondering, I knew Sliver Overlord was in that block, and then I looked it up, and I forgot about Corona False God,
There you go.
a card that is $5 because they weren't printing as many 5-color legends as they are now, which is roughly 1 or 2 per set.
Per week.
Right?
I mean,
But
I've seen
before-
people use Corona as like a budget Morophon, like all the way up until Morophon existed, because it's just sort of like it was the flag bearer for just 5-color
Yeah.
horses or whatever you built, where it's just
I
like
saw it.
I can do lynxes or whatever, and it would just work with any tribe theoretically.
I mean, +3/+3 till the end of the turn, provided your opponents don't like get rid of Corona when it's theirs to borrow. Yeah, it's pretty legit, I guess.
Yep. All right, Jason, what do you have for us this week? You were bragging precast about how good this was going to be, so let's hear it.
Okay, this is a creature with 1 printing, and it's not gold, so already I'm screwed up a little bit. This is a Modern Horizons 1 blue creature.
What's the rarity?
Common. It is $1 retail.
Ethereum Sculptor?
No,
No other printing.
he said no reprints, and it's MH1.
Oh,
so
no
it's-
reprints. Oh, okay.
Is this the card that has Hideaway?
It does not have a set specific keyword mechanic. It has an evergreen keyword mechanic.
Is this a changeling? Is there a changeling that's just like a
It's
ninja?
not a
like,
changeling.
like Hideaway?
You
There's
might
no
get me with this one.
Hideaway.
There's a hideaway card in that set, but yeah.
There is. It's
This is
Watcher or
a
something.
card that's very similar to decks that DJ plays. I don't think Sig runs this card, but it's very similar. It's run in similar places.
Is it just like a 1/1 blue unblockable for one that I don't know a name of?
It's Phyrexia.
Oh,
okay,
I was
yep,
thinking.
yep.
I thought that was in. Man, I thought that card was newer than that. Wow, that card's awesome.
See, I thought that card had reprints. I was the other way. I was like, that's like an RTR reprint or something. That
God, man, that card just made me feel old.
It got a retro frame in Modern Horizons 2, I guess.
No, I thought it was from like 5 or 6 years ago. I was just like, that's a card that got reprinted in MH1 and added.
That one just made me feel very old.
You got me. That's a good one.
I was going to
that
go with
card's great.
Ghoul Lurker, but I don't want to be like DJ to be like, you picked Ghoul Lurker when, I don't know, when the blue-black rogues, I guess that was Ravnica or Zendikar, right?
Yeah.
When that deck came out.
Yeah.
I feel like I picked Ghoul Lurker that week, and I would have been right. Ghoul Lurker's like 70, 80 cents.
This is a
Tetsuko
good
Umezawa's like $2 at Flying Mint. Like,
I love picks like this.
unblockable and flying one drop creatures.
You find dozens of these when you hit like the MH1 5 row. You're like yoink yoink yoink
Yep.
yoink yoink.
Go through your bulk. Miscloaked Herald, Changeling Over, Outcast, Ingenious Infiltrator, Ghoul Lurker, Tetsuko Umezawa, Demir Infiltrator, Mistblade Shinobi, Slitherblade, Spectral Sailor. Pull all that stuff.
A lot of these are because of 60 card casual too. Like a lot of some of them are like Edric, Spy Master of Tress decks or whatever. But like a lot of these are just like, I'm gonna build 60 card flying guys or with favorable wins, or it's like 60 card budget $10 ninjas where they're just like, I'm gonna build 60 card ninjas and play it against 60 card Pegasi. And those add up, and stores need to keep these in stock and sell them as playsets.
Yep.
Pauper too. Like Pauper, this is obviously like a decent enough card for Pauper.
So don't bulk these out either. Right?
It's also a card you get rid of immediately because it can just get crushed by a reprint. Like if this is in anything, it's like 8 cents for 4 years.
Again, it got a reprint in Modern Horizons 2. They gave it a retro
count.
border. Well, is it more copies?
There's not enough more copies. If that reprint mattered, this would not be 70 cents.
I guess. Maybe. Who knows? It's got 2 abilities. Most of those ETB creatures have 1 ability. This is a flying man with an extra ability. Enter the battlefield scry 2. That's power creep, baby. That's on a common.
Also, 2 of these creature types are relevant. Fairy
Remember
and
you had to
Wizard
pay
are both
4 mana for a 2/2 unblockable? Remember those days?
This one's pretty good to pick up with your fairy stuff, and it's pretty good to curve into a spell stutter sprite.
And it's a wizard, too, in case you're doing wizard stuff from Dominaria. Remember Dominaria?
Yeah, that was the height of, I think Dominaria was the peak of Magic.
Yeah, it's been downhill since then, hasn't it?
For you specifically, or for the game?
For the game. Wizards has done much better since then.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing that they have done to increase profits has made the game's long-term prospects any better.
Even though we were just talking about how cool Kamigawa was?
People don't care about that, man. Kamigawa was cool back in the day, and they didn't like it because it was between Mirrodin and Ravnica, and everybody expected it to be overpowered, when really what we needed was a palate cleanser.
None of this is my answer, DJ. I just think that the in terms of goodwill and or like peak of sort of like the modern day Magic lifestyle, I think that is the time when the most people were doing the most well. You know, as opposed to now, like Jason said, Wizards is doing great. Star City just laid off all their writers. Like, that's kind of, that it's
Star City laid
Wizards'
off all
bottom
their
line doesn't matter to me.
non-EDH writers. They kept all their casual players. So
They laid off the world champion from it's just. I think that when the world champion had
the game is going in a different direction that is not like what you have grown up with and experienced, and that is influencing your answer, I think.
I mean, yeah, I said I think, right? It's my opinion.
Right.
Clearly,
I do
right?
not think the game as a whole is suffering by any. I can't say any metric because by your metric it is suffering, but like as a whole, I think Magic is going in a direction that will continue to allow it to reach more people and be a better game overall. I do not think we've reached the peak of Magic yet, is what I'm saying.
That comes with the Netflix show.
I think the Netflix show is going to be huge. I do.
Yeah, just like the Magic movie.
Is it ever coming out? Are we actually getting a Netflix show, or are we just getting disappointment forever?
They announced the Magic movie in like 2014.
They did.
Didn't they announce a Magic movie in 1997?
Maybe, yeah. They
Spy
probably, you know what?
Magazine?
We were probably talking about the Magic movie in Dominaria, by the way.
They
Magic
announced the
Geek?
Magic movie so long ago that people thought Arnold Schwarzenegger would be a good Karn. Do you know there was a time before
In
Vin
the 90s,
Diesel?
yes.
There was actually a pre-Vin Diesel time when people didn't know that they should value family.
I mean, that's
Have you gone back and watched Fast and the Furious 1? It's a Corona commercial.
Isn't that just what Phyrexia is? Phyrexia is all about family. Tommy is just part of the family now, right? Like,
Just like
Our
before.
family is now complete.
Man.
Phyrexia is just one big Olive Garden, and change my mind.
On this plane, you are family.
DJ, that's a tweet, buddy. Come on, you got to put that out as a tweet tomorrow. That one will do well. I like that.
Yeah, with an extra 3 minutes of context before it, it was a real.
It was
killer joke.
hilarious, right?
I think it's a
agree.
good tweet on its own.
I think so too. All right, let's move on to talking about some actual finance stuff here. Ben Blywis, the general manager at Star City Games, someone who was not part of
I think he's the head
group that
pricing
was
manager.
let go. Yeah, he signed this general manager, Star City Games. Anyway, that's what he described himself as. He posted a very long and detailed answer to the question, can someone explain how the secondary market determines the price of singles before they're released? Because obviously, once cards are released and you start selling them, you have sales data on what is selling and what isn't, and blah, blah, blah. That's how you price a card. But this person is asking about resale prices, essentially. And Ben gave an extremely detailed answer that we'll link it in the show notes. You can go
Oh,
look
we don't
for
need to
sure.
link it to the show notes. People can read it on your little whiteboard behind you. If they,
Yeah.
as long as they enhance or zoom,
Zoom,
whichever you prefer.
enhance. Yep.
You can just read it on Corbin's very professional doodle there.
Yep, and if you're having a hard time, I suggest getting a second person on the same keyboard to enhance more efficiently. So Ben says that once you know the most important thing, and I've seen him tweet this out at Wizards regularly, begging them to release information about the rate at which cards show up. Because essentially what the vendors will do behind the scenes, Star City knows that they're getting X thousands of boxes, and they're going to open that many boxes. And then if they know the approximate rates by the law of large numbers, which just means if you open enough boxes with large enough sample size, you're going to trend towards the average. So their idea is that based on that, they know exactly how many they're going to have. And if they think they're going to have, say, 100, they can start listing them out and figuring out the price. So Ben says that the most important things when it comes to the pre-order price are the rarity and scarcity of the card, which is what we just talked about, the effect of the printed card in relation to previous effects that have been printed in the past, the number of formats the card will be playable in, and the buzz around the card from other sources. And this is where Twitter and Commander and stuff like that comes in. But what's interesting there is to me the how have cards like this done in the past, right? And that is how we had, like DJ mentioned earlier, Planeswalkers that would pre-sell at $20+ no matter what, because that's just what Planeswalkers did. And now obviously that's not the case, but this is kind of the model behind the scenes, and it's a pretty interesting post.
Well, it's also like how we've gotten just people to absurdly overpay for cards just based on loose correlations to previous versions that don't actually play out in practice. I think the famous one that we
Time
tend to bring up,
reversal.
Time reversal is a good one. I was
Yeah.
going to reference $20 Pain Seer. Painseer being a
Dark
Valkyrie
Confidant
from Born of the Gods. Everybody thought it was Dark Confidant with one more toughness. It turns out that getting your Dark Confidant to be tapped is sometimes a challenge and a hoop to jump through. And it is not exactly consistent, even if you play Springleaf Drum. So $20 Painseer turned into 8 cents Painseer. I think Spirit of the Labyrinth from the same set was like a $10+ pre-order because it was going to ruin Legacy and White Meanie forever. It was the answer to Brainstorm. It was going to
Brainstorm.
Yeah, that was one. Jace the Mind Sculptor is one that was famously underpriced because Planeswalkers were hard to evaluate and they were still new, so it pre-sold for 20, and then 30, and then it was 50, and then it won events, and then it was 100. But
that was like my third MTG finance move, I think.
But I mean, that's just like somebody has to be the first person to choose a number, and Ben has the sometimes unenviable position, and his team have the unenviable position of just throwing at a dart at a board if a card is extremely new and novel and unique, like Smuggler's Copter. It's like nobody knows how vehicles are gonna work.
I tweeted, my tweet about Smuggler's Copter was, do I not know how to evaluate cards, or a Smuggler's Copter way better than I assume it is? Because, or like way worse than I assume it is. Because I thought it was good and like nobody else did. And I was just like, okay, I suck at evaluating cards. And even being better. Right, I was wrong because I didn't trust myself. So like, it's not enough to just be right. You have to actually like take action based on that information.
What year was
being like, I tweeted that the card was good, but I didn't buy any. Then you weren't right if you didn't buy any. So like, you got to actually put your money where your mouth is, and I didn't do that. It's hard.
So Kaladesh came out in 2016.
Yeah.
Before the cast, Jason was like, I should really trust myself, and DJ was like, you've been saying that for 5 years, and it turns out he's been saying it for at least 5 years.
I'm good at this, man, but like I used to be better, and it pisses me off.
It just comes with like focusing in other areas, though, right? Like,
it's harder than it used to be.
Age.
I think prices were way worse. So Ben Blyway said all this stuff because he's gotten better, but like there's a thing he didn't talk about, which is the card sells out, they raise the price. So listing 12 copies when you know you're going to open hundreds to see how fast those 12 copies sell out it's a thing they do. If it sells out immediately, they raise the price. If it doesn't sell out, if you can't even sell 12 copies, maybe you drop the price or maybe you leave it. It's based on how quickly those 12 copy batches sell. Or it's 16. I don't really know what they do at Star City, but they're not listing 200.
They're not the only store that does this, obviously,
at $3.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Another thing that they've I think they still do this. It's been a while since I've checked, but they have a pre-order guarantee where if the cards you pre-order decreases in price during the pre-order duration, then they will refund you the difference plus some amount of store credit. So if you pre-order a $10 card, you want your $40 playset, and you're like, I think this card's going to be nuts. It's going to be 20. I'm a genius. And then before the set releases, if that card goes to say $5, they will refund you that difference and then throw a little store credit your way to encourage pre-sales to happen. The very intelligent part of that is that cards don't tend to decrease in price during pre-sale season. They tend to decrease the immediate week after. So you might still get your $10 playset of Jingataxis or whatever, but then you look at it 2 weeks later and it's a $16 playset of Jingataxis, and you may regret your decision, but you may continue to pre-order because you value your own opinion and judgment.
I think it's a genius move for any store that offers any kind of pre-order guarantees or banning guarantees, stuff like that.
Yes.
I think that sort of stuff is genius marketing, helpful to customers. It's great marketing because it is big and it's splashy and it's cool and it makes the company look great, blah, blah, blah. But it is a legitimate value to customers too. So I think that's been a nice development in the market over the last few years.
For what it's worth, and I haven't looked at pre-sale prices for this because I've been dealing with a shattered leg, but not having looked at pre-sale prices, just looking at the cards in the set in front of me on Mythic Spoiler on one of my monitors, I would be very surprised if the Wandering Emperor was not an extremely powerful card in Standard. I will put my 2 cents out there. Flash has historically been underrated, even when it is highly rated. I'll say that. Just the ability to play a card at 17 different phases of a turn rather than 1 is traditionally very powerful. So I think the Wandering Emperor is a very, very powerful tool.
I agree.
It's a neck snap.
It's a lot of stuff. It's a
Right?
great card.
It is a
But
very, very big Swiss Army knife of things.
That's so cool. What a crazy
Yeah.
Magic
So
the
for those
Gathering
who
card.
don't know, it is 4 mana, flash, 3 loyalty. If it enters the battlefield this turn, you may activate it anytime you can do an instant. So that means you can flash it in combat to be a next step, as Jason mentioned, or you can also do an in step. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature against first strike in a turn +1. -1, make a 2/2 samurai with vigilance -2. Exile target tap creature, you gain 2 life. You can plus this thing to win combat if you have creatures.
Yep.
You can minus this thing to win combat by making more creatures even after they've attacked. Or you
is
can
an
just remove their creatures. It's insane. This card's
It's an
great.
insane combat trick. Yeah.
Settle the Wreckage was a very powerful card at a very identical mana cost.
This
100%. Some of the
And
the
even
flavor
if you
for this
don't
card
walk
comes
into
from
the
that.
trap, they still get to play the card during the
there
step.
are some cards I would compare this to, but Settle the Wreckage probably not chief among them.
I mean, it's the idea of punishing people for combat, right? Like this.
Yeah, I get you.
I also thought of Settle the Wreckage when I saw this card, but yeah, the ability that's you could. There were ways to play around Settle. It's a little harder to play around the Wandering Emperor when they can just instep into a Wrath, and then you just have a token engine, right? Like there's just a lot of powerful stuff this card can do. Good one for sure. All right, well let's move on. Last segment here. Let's knock out some picks of the week.
Pick of the week, pick of the week, pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
I'll start us off. I'm going to give you a recent reprint that is starting to move, and you probably last chance right now if you're listening to this at patreon.com/BSB. You're hearing this early, of course, and this is one of those times we're getting early access to the cast via the spreadsheets, the picks, and the Patreon, all the perks that come along with that. This is one of those times where it pays off because the card Brutaclad Telcor Engineer from Double Masters right now, the TCG median on this card is under $2, but it is moving with all of the sort of stuff that we've seen from Kamigawa that plays into this. Obviously, with all the artifact and treasure and stuff making it last few years, Brutaclad starting to shrug off this reprint. Probably headed to $5, and it's $2 to $3 right now. So I'm in on the Double Masters version of that 6 mana 4/4 blue red legendary artifact creature tokens you control of haste. In the beginning of combat, you make it 2/1, and then you can make stuff a copy. It just does it all.
It does it all. I don't want something that does it all. I want to do one thing really well. What I want to do is be a ninja, like Silent Blade Oni is. Gettable for $7 right now. Silent Blade Oni is a ninja with a real expensive mana cost and a real expensive ninjutsu cost.
Mm-hmm.
But none of that matters when your commander is Satoru Umezawa. Because its ninjutsu cost is 2 colors, a blue and a black now. Which is very reasonable to nail somebody with a 6/5 Silent Blade Oni that lets you cast a non-land card in their hand when you hit them. There are a lot of ninjas in play right now. Silent Blade Oni is not moving as fast, I guess. I guess it's less obvious. All I know is that Satoru Umezawa right now is the most built commander from the set so far. It's been spoiled longer. I get that. I get it. But also, do you really think it's not going to be one of the top 3 because it says ninjas on it? Silent Blade Oni is under $10, and it was only printed in Plane Chase and Plane Chase Anthology, and then like a commander deck.
It was in a commander
C18.
Yeah, C18, the
it was
ninja
in the
deck.
Amanatu deck.
Yep.
I mean, this is another one of those cards that's going to go quick. Anything that hasn't moved yet from Kamigawa's stuff is gonna happen in the next 2 weeks, or next 2 days on some of this.
We have some preliminary stuff Satoru Umezawa's number 1, Hidetsugu's number 2, Atsushi is number 3, and then there aren't a ton of decks for the other ones. But I mean, those are the ones that have been spoiled the longest. I get it.
Can I just say that, like, you naming the top commanders in each set has a lot of value to the 4 people that know what the first names of those cards are and what they do. It is not your fault. It is not your fault.
Hidetsugu.
I agree with you.
It's not your fault. But like, I could do the same thing and say Razzleflaz, Black Thor, and Naza 5.
But Razzleflaz doesn't correspond to anything. What the fuck are you talking about?
You could just start naming whatever that RuneScape characters, man. Like,
hey man, when you say the name of a card that exists, it's kind of like me saying the name of something that's not a card doesn't exist. Those two situations are very similar.
It is, like I said, it's
you
not
know when
your
you drink
fault.
water, it's kind of like farting out broken glass. In what way?
Lathril, Cathril, and Lathrale.
I didn't name them Lathril and Cathril. I'm just reading them off a fucking spreadsheet.
I know, that's why I said it's not your fault.
It isn't my fault, and it's not the podcast's fault. And if you were on YouTube, you could see the shit. Why aren't you on YouTube? You could be giving us a like and a thumbs up and a subscription, and you could give us... Is there a way to give people money directly for having YouTube?
Probably not. We need super follows for that.
You could be our super follower on YouTube, or go to patreon.com/BSB and just give us money directly for giving you good information.
All right, DJ, what do you got this week?
I have a card that I found on MTG Stocks while I was in my 2-hour waiting room in the doctor's office.
Fun.
Yeah.
You
got to see a doctor.
I did, after 2 hours almost.
In 2 months.
It was... I mean, this was a scheduled appointment that was, like, after my cast came off, but beside the point.
Oh, I see.
So, a lot of the Secret Lair cards, I think, are very underrated because there's so many of them. Like, there's just... when I was in Vegas a couple months ago, I was buying Secret Lair cards, and two things happened. Sometimes cards would come across the table, and I would say, I didn't know this was in a Secret Lair.
Yeah.
And sometimes people were buying cards and they'd say, I didn't know this was in a Secret Lair.
Yeah.
So.
That was my experience with most Secret Lairs.
There's so many.
It takes them they do so many, but it also takes them so long to actually get out to people.
Yes, the time difference between when they're announced versus when they're available to purchase.
When you authorize your credit card and when your credit card gets charged.
Correct.
Yeah. And then the next step of when you are actually going to encounter one at a commander table to be reminded that it exists.
And when you are going to get your Quip toothbrush in the mail instead of the Secret Lair you ordered.
So I found this one on MTGstocks.com, which is the proud sponsor of Brainstorm Brewery. They have a premium MTG Stocks option, which gives you a whole flurry of other features like monthly trends, like price alerts, like email alerts, inventory interest. You can sync it with Stream Sage, which is another cool system that basically pulls data from Twitch and videos and content creators. So this is a card I found where the graph appears to be at its bottom, and it's starting to tip up just over the past couple of days. Sakura Tribuilder, a very, very popular card from the original Kamigawa block.
Was this the promo version?
It's a Secret Lair version.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Does it look like a Ninja Turtle? Because that would be sweet.
It looks more like a turtle and a snake, I will say that. But this started out at 20, and it has gotten down to like the 7 or 8 range, and it's starting to go up. If anyone is building a snake commander or any sort of Kamigawa themed deck that has green in it, maybe it's like Reki, maybe it's just any of the green, like the Saga Legend or whatever, they may want to theme out their deck with a Secret Lair version of Sakura Tribuilder that is, I mean, pseudo reserve list, like reserve
I
list.
think this card's cool, and now that I know that it exists, I actually want this version.
Right, and I think that that situation will continue to happen with a lot of Secret Lair cards as play groups begin to reform and get back into paper over the next decade or so. But like Secret Lair cards are pseudo reserved list if you think about it. And the Sakura Tribe Elder, I couldn't tell you which secret lair it was from. I assume it's Kamigawa themed because the art appears to be very Kamigawa-y. And
they could have done secret lair snakes. The benefits go to the Seattle Zoo for all we know. Like,
yes. So that is my pick of the week.
All right, there you go. That's a great one. Okay, well, everybody, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. It was a busy week for us on the home front and on the Magic front. And now we are going to be deep into Kamigawa over the next few weeks. So stick with us. We will have on somebody smarter than us to do a little bit of a set review here. Where
are you going to find someone like that?
Well, it's tough, but we'll try.
We're going to have someone smarter than Corbin.
I was going to say we're going to find somebody smarter than the average of us. And that's made easier by one of us. I'm not going to name names.
Aren't you the median of us?
I think I scored you both on the SAT. But this is irrelevant.
You did peak in high school, didn't you? You peaked in high school.
Every day of my life is a new peak, DJ. Every day I get to wake up is the best day. It just hurts more than the last.
Didn't you get COVID?
Yeah.
You got COVID.
Corbin's a typhoid rat. Corbin's a typhoid rat.
Your white blood cell count is peaking.
Thanks for listening, everybody. It's Brainstorm Brewery. We'll see you next week.
That hat was patient zero. I mean, like, the fact that it didn't hit you come down to you.
This hat is patient zero.